Do you remember as a child the most painful thing you had to go through as a young man? And I'm trying to validate myself, wondering maybe it's just me, or do people remember?
So for me, there's no individual situation that occurred. Mm-hmm. It was like a what's that Japanese water torture type thing? Mm-hmm. You know, it was just a consistent ambient
drip forehead thing
sense of. Yeah, and I think, I don't know, I would be interested to look at the psychology behind what happens if someone has a single very traumatic event versus a more protracted, drawn out suffering. And, you know, like, I wasn't abused. My parents were great. You know, we didn't come from a rich place, but there wasn't anything that I was struggling for. Like, I wasn't poor, I wasn't starving. But I was alone. I was an only child, and I didn't have very many friends, and I was bullied in school. And you can create an awful lot of suffering yourself off the back of that. And I also think, you know, talking about I'm 55, like, time to get over it, like, fuck that. The priors that you have become the laws of physics that your world exists within. And if you have a particular type of worldview that you've held for a very long time, that doesn't make it easier to get rid of. That makes it harder to get rid of. You know, the fact that you can carry a burden with you for 55 years doesn't mean like, oh, well, now it's time to drop it. You go, fuck, it's fused into my fucking flesh. Right? It's part of me now.
Yeah, I understand that. What came to my mind was, and it wasn't, you know, I had whatever sort of childhood, it's fine. But what the hardest thing for me was, I remember I left living with my mom because I didn't like my stepdad, moved in with my dad in town here, you know, from the small town out where we drove yesterday. And then I felt lonely, which is why your story kind of resonates with me, because we moved to Portland. I was on my own. My brother wasn't there. So the thing that I remember being the hardest as my childhood was telling my dad that I wanted to move back with my mom, because it was like this divorce thing. It was kind of a pulling back and forth. You know, my mom, of course, wanted me there. My dad wanted to win this little battle, have me with him, and I wanted to be with him because he was my real dad. But then I was just so lonely. And so telling him I want to move back with my mom was, you know, kids say crazy things to their parents. They say, yeah, I don't love you. And, you know, it's just kids being stupid and trying to hurt people. But that, I knew that hurt him deeply. And man, as an 8th grade, so probably, I don't know, 13 or 14, telling my dad, you know, I want to move away, man, that was rough because it hurt him.
Well, the reason that it hurts you is because you care about people. We were talking about this yesterday. You know, fundamentally, one of the reasons that we get hurt when we watch other people suffering is that we see the good in people. We don't want to see other people suffer. And for you to be on your own and want to be back with your brother, because your brother would be social support, he would be like literal physical support if you were in school, and you know, you would have your boy back.
Yeah.
But one of the side effect or byproduct of you no longer being alone was your dad now being alone.
Yeah.
And you have to say, I mean, this is the person that stays in a relationship because they think that the other partner is not going to be able to deal with it by themselves. This is the daughter or son that never leaves the hometown because the grandma and grandpa are going to be, they're not going to have anyone to look after them. You know, like these sorts of trade-offs that people have are, they're serious. Like, they're not the things that should be snarked at. They're not just simple situations. Right? They're incredibly difficult because it's like apples and oranges. Like how many lonely nights without your brother is worth your dad not feeling insufficient? Like, how the fuck am I supposed to weigh these two things?
Can't win that one.
Yeah.
Can't make it work. Yeah, the math doesn't work.
Yeah, and even in retrospect, you know, you can spend 40 years going back over this conversation with yourself and still not working out, was that the right decision?
Yeah.
Did I do the right thing?
Yeah, it's that's why I say it's hard looking back, because it's, on one hand, I'm like, you know, whatever. Why am I still thinking about this? But
it's because you're a good man. That's why. It's because you care about other people and you don't want other people to hurt.
You know, I don't. So here's the thing too. I actually don't think I'm good because I know how my brain works. It's like, it reminds me of another thing. Somebody was the other day was talking shit about Goggins, and I was, I have a hard time with that because I feel like, and maybe this is why I'm questioning myself, because I feel like some people, I've met people, regular people, who think they are amazing at whatever they do. They're the best, and I look at what they're doing and what they're producing, and I'm like, you're not the best, dude. And I saw this guy talking shit about Goggins, and I'm like, what are you? This guy influences millions of people. Do you really think you're looking down on him? And what have you done where you should be judging somebody like Goggins, right? Who has 2 New York Times bestsellers, multiple world records, a Navy SEAL, served his country for 17 years. And what have you done? But this guy is, I think some people get, overestimate what they're doing, what they're contributing, or are they delusional? So I'm like, you say I'm a good guy. I'm like, I look at myself in the mirror and I know the thoughts I have about, I'm like, this guy, screw this guy. I know, who I really am. So it's hard. And I wonder, can people buy their own BS or are they delusional? What do you, how do you perceive that?
You can manage to convince yourself of pretty much anything.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
This is the same as the priors thing, right? Like if you have come into a situation believing that your self-worth is almost always determined by your monetary wealth, let's say. So your parents perhaps were keeping up with the Joneses when you were younger, or perhaps they showed love through presents. Christmas was a huge deal and birthdays were a big deal, and it was always about new shoes and new cars and blah, blah, and holidays and stuff. You are going to go into the world with a presumption that that is where your self-worth is derived from. That's no more or less real than anybody else's priors. Right. It's less effective. And this particular person, if their fundamental source of value is comparison between them and somebody else, absolutely, to them that's the physics of their life. Now, they're not the sort of person that I want to be around.
Yeah.
They're not the sort of person that I spend my time with. But I would be hesitant as you seeing the mean or nasty thoughts or the retributive fantasies that you have about calling this person out or meeting them in an alley or doing whatever, you know, like we don't have control over our thoughts in that sort of a way. It doesn't make you a bad person to have bad thoughts. Like this is what was so interesting about, do you remember Minority Report?
Yes.
With Tom Cruise?
Yeah.
So I always think about that film because it showed what would happen if people's intentions were able to be used to project forward their actions. Now, it was actually more complex than that. It was actually able to work out what was going on. But you could imagine a world in which cancellation came not from the things you said, but from the things you thought.
Right, yeah. That's what I'm afraid of.
But that would be terrifying,
Yeah.
dude. Some of the things like... And this is the concern that people have about parents calling or children calling their parents out for the stuff that's said in the home. My dad said this sexist or racist joke in the house. Because what is happening is you are ever more constraining the space within which people can openly think or play with ideas. Right. And there is a question like, are there some ideas that are so toxic and brutal that they shouldn't ever even be said out loud, even in the comfort of your own home? For the most part, people would say no, like there has to be a boundary. Right. But you could push that one step further and say, are there some thoughts that are so toxic that you shouldn't even be allowed to have them inside the comfort of your own head? Yeah. And I would be very hesitant around, you know, taking a sense of self-worth or accusing yourself of being, I don't know, any kind of person for thinking things that are just a natural response to someone that's being a dick. Yeah. Like this guy is being a penis and rightly so, but it's about your actions, right? And let's flip it on its head. So imagine that someone said to you, Cam, I really love what you do with regards to your training. I just wanted to let you know, like, I'm one of the most motivated people on the planet. And you go, wow, like, how does that manifest? And you go, well, dude, I think about training all the time. Right. You would say, well, you're not training. How much do you go out and do? Oh, well, no, I don't actually go out and do any training at all, but I think about it a lot. Right. If I flip that round to you and I say, you think bad thoughts and do good things, that doesn't make you a bad person.
Right. I see. The actions. The
Correct.
actions speak louder than the thoughts, for sure.
Correct.
Yes.
And there was another thing from that I learned from Jocko. He had this conversation with Sam Harris like 5 years ago. I was listening to it in preparation for the conversation I had with him a few months ago. The episodes that we're talking about, we'll put them in the show notes below, the Goggins and the Jocko and stuff, if people want to go and check those out, because
of course,
they were both great. And Sam was saying that courage or bravery is an emotion that you can't fake. He said that doing the courageous or brave thing in spite of not wanting to do it is bravery.
Right.
There's no such thing as fake bravery.
Right.
If you do the thing and didn't want to do it, that's bravery. And if you don't do the thing despite wanting to do it, that's cowardice.
Right.
But motivation works the same way. If you do the thing and you didn't want to, that is motivation. It doesn't matter whether you felt motivated or not.
Right.
The outcome is what matters.
Yeah.
Right.
The effort's there.
And the same thing is right in reverse when it comes to being a good person. Like if you do good things with bad thoughts, that's being even more good in my eyes.
Well, Thank you. I overcame more because I wasn't starting at zero. I was starting at less than zero.
Started as such a dick. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, good. I feel better.
Every step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use every comment, hate that makes my feel. Gather up my energy and boom. I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with. Giving my blood, so I am relentless. My fault, they want someone to blame. They sent their hate, it fuels my pace. I am Roy Tough, I am the change, the fuel in dirt. Feeling like Cam Hanks. Oh.